Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into my podcast, Reflecting with Ron. I am your host, Ron Bagnera. This is episode 7. Tonight, I'll be joined by my mom. Let us dive into some deep reflecting. We will reflect upon anything from accomplishments, challenges that were overcome, revisit memories of the past, life experiences, or anything that you're deliberating or pondering about life. How are you doing tonight, Mom?
I'm doing good, Ron.
I'm very happy to have you on my podcast. It's a real honor. And what will we be discussing tonight?
Tonight we're going to discuss the options of anxiety.
And your experiences with it and how it's affected your life?
Yes, I have anxiety disorder. It's affected my life in several different ways, Ron. As I was younger, I was able to go to concerts, go see the fireworks, do different things as simple as shopping. Now I'm older and it's gotten really worse. It's a challenge every day. Going shopping's always a challenge with me. When there's a lot of people there, I start getting anxiety, which makes me want to actually leave the store. It overwhelms me. There's so many people. And being around so many people brings on the anxiety to me. I also used to like the fireworks. Fireworks were my favorite time of year, the 4th of July. Loved going into Boston and everything else. It was always a fun-filled evening for me. Now, I can't go in and see the fireworks. I can't go into Boston because of the people. I can't go into simple places like Swampscott that I live in because there's just too many people. And with too many people, it makes me feel like I'm claustrophobic. And I just want to just get out of wherever I am. The other thing, I used to love going to concerts. Concerts were like my favorite thing. I used to get so excited. I'd look forward to the day to come. Then as I got older, now if I was to think about going to a concert, I would say, okay, maybe I can do it. And then realize there's no way I could do it.
So that's interesting you talk about the fact that you have anxiety disorder. There was this article that was published in Medical News Today on October 26, 2018 by Adam Feldman, and it was reviewed by Dr. Dylan Brown that anxiety disorders affect 40 million people in the United States and that it is the most common group of mental illness in the country. However, only about roughly 36.9% of the people with an anxiety disorder receive treatment. So they misconstrue, how they're just having your everyday anxiety as opposed to anxiety disorder. We stress about paying bills, landing a job, a romantic breakup, which is like an everyday stress compared to an anxiety disorder, which is like constant worry and it causes significant distress and interferes with your daily life. And I'm assuming that that's how you feel in a lot of those situations that you listed previously with going to the concert, going to the supermarket, like everyday thing that you used to be able to do without any worries or stress. Now it is a challenge and a hurdle for you to try and overcome, or even just thinking about it just instantly induces the stress and anxiety.
Absolutely. It does. It makes me feel it makes me feel really overwhelmed. It makes me feel like, I wish I could go back to being young again and not having the stresses of going to the supermarket. Simple things as that, like you go to the supermarket, you get your groceries. Sometimes I get so anxiety ridden that I can't stay. I can go to like the checkout line, purchase the groceries and say, can you hold my stuff? I'll be back in like 15 minutes. It's an awful feeling. It overwhelms me. Actually, I am on one of the percentages where I actually have medication to treat it.
Right.
Which doesn't make it so bad, but it still causes me problems.
It takes off the edge, essentially, but it's not like you're completely rid of it.
Right. It doesn't take it away. It just makes it easier to go to the grocery store.
It makes it more manageable for you to be able to do those daily tasks or attend those events.
Yeah, but I still can't attend a concert or the 4th of July just because of the overwhelming of the people. They're, everybody's close. Everybody's so close to you. It's almost like claustrophobic, and you just feel you have like all strangers to the right and left of you, and you can't get comfortable.
So when was it in your life, at what time were you diagnosed with this and prescribed medication?
I was diagnosed in my 20s with it.
Okay.
After having my last child. I ended up getting very overwhelmed at staying home and being a full-time parent versus going to work, where I was like with other people that are in, my age range. I was home with just the children and it was us, and I would want to go out and do stuff, and I just couldn't do it. I'd rather stay in the house than go outside in the real world.
So gradually you became more of a homebody, and that's where you don't feel the most amount of anxiety compared to everything else.
Yeah, I'm more or less of getting an anxiety or an anxiety attack being home, because being home I'm usually surrounded with people that I know, that
familiar
are my family,
faces and everything.
Familiar faces. We're going out, I'm not so much. And that will bring on anxiety. I don't know you. You're not my family, you're not my friends, it's new to me, and that's what kind of brings on some of it.
Yeah, and they say that the researchers, they've been doing these studies and everything else, and they're starting to learn as it progresses and everything else, they're starting to associate that these anxiety disorders actually run in families and that they have a biological basis, much like allergies and diabetes and other disorders. Do you know of anyone else in our family or any other relatives that have similar symptoms?
Actually, Ron, your grandmother does. My mother, she has anxiety, and I do believe it can be passed down in families, where I got it as well. It can run in families. It doesn't necessarily always have to run in it, but yes, it can definitely run a pattern with mothers, daughters, and siblings in general.
Right, exactly. Sometimes there's just the normal and often healthy emotion of anxiety. However, people like yourself, they feel disproportionate levels of anxiety, and it becomes more of a medical disorder. And I don't know if you know, but some of the self-treatment practices, such as, physical activity, a healthy diet, regular sleep and relaxation exercise, actually help with reducing the amount of anxiety you might be experiencing. The best way to manage the symptoms effectively, the best is to avoid actually caffeine, alcohol, and nicotine. They induce anxiety more so than just being put in the situation that, the best methods of avoiding those in order for you to have more of control with your anxiety and what you're going through with. And, there's nothing to be ashamed about with, seeking medical care. As you said, you found out that in your early 20s that you had it, and I'm sure that you spoke with professionals about it. And how did that make you feel?
I had to go, and they have to diagnose you, and they try you with different medications to see what works for you. At my time in my life now, I am on something that will help me, that I take daily, controls me getting the anxiety attacks. And I usually have extra medication as far as if they're more frequent, they come on stronger. If I get multiple anxiety during the day, not just one part of the day, I'll take my medication, and that tends to help me because I am on a prescription medication. They're not as bad and as frequent as they could be.
Right, so you don't experience as much nervousness, fear, apprehension, and worry.
No, I don't. Not being on the medication, I don't.
That's good. You don't want to experience more severe anxiety because that will obviously adversely affect your day-to-day living.
Absolutely.
Which I'm sure some days compared to others, you do have more of the severe end of the anxiety as opposed to like the mild that's, very vague and unsettling. But,
like if I have obstacles in my day or I have things I have to accomplish, some days are a lot harder than others. Being in situations that I don't want to be in will obviously bring them on more than being in a regular situation that probably won't bother me as much.
I hope that with the proper support groups and everything else that it has positively impacted you and has helped you to function a little bit better. I know it's not like how it used to be, but thankfully enough that there is, science and medicine that can at least take off some of the edge and make you be able to feel that, you have some control with social situations and that you are still able to do certain things and not feel as restricted as if you weren't medicated at all. Because I feel, at least personally, that you would be in a different situation if you weren't medicated.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think I would be. I would probably not be able to actually function.
Has there been days that you might have missed your medication that you noticed the difference in your levels of anxiety?
Yes. If I miss it, I have the anxiety and it's like stronger than on a now normal day when you have the medication, and it helps your situation. It helps me to be able to do what I have to do in a day to day to get through, like from day to evening. It helps with that. Without it, if I forget it, I can feel it. I can feel it through my system that, I'm off here. Somehow I'm off, and did I miss my medicine? Maybe I did that day. And you can tell the effect, especially when you take it on a day-to-day basis.
Right. And another interesting statistic that I read was that in the World Health Organization, 1 in 13 globally suffer from anxiety, and those reports that anxiety disorders are more common mental disorders worldwide, with specific phobia, major depressive disorder, and social phobia being the most common anxiety disorders. Do you feel that you associate with one of those or all of those at some point or another?
I think actually, Ron, the more is with the social.
Okay.
The social anxiety.
And what aspect of the social dynamic is causing you to feel so anxious?
Because socially, I'm a very friendly person. I like to meet new people. Yeah. And because I have anxiety, it's very hard to want to meet new people. I usually end up staying with the people that are around me or the friends I know than going out and meeting new. I kind of really just don't prefer to go meet any more people. I'd rather just keep the ones I have, because it's too much for me to go meet somebody that I don't know.
Right, and then you start to, get worried and nervous and skeptical. Absolutely. And you start questioning it, and then it just completely puts a damper on your day, and, you'd rather just stay with some people that are just, the common faces that you're used to, even though I in my experience growing up and everything, I know you to be very sociable, but you're only with a select group of people and individuals as opposed to, going down the street and just talking to any Joe Schmo, right?
Right. I usually stay within my small circle. Don't like to go out of the circle that I'm in.
Right. You just like to stay close by home, stick with what you know, and not steer far from, the straight and narrow.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you being on my podcast, and I hope for the listeners out there that this was very eye-opening and informative, and that if you are experiencing anything pertaining to anxiety, that there are a lot of great resources out there, and that you are not alone in this, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. And thank you very much for educating me also on some aspects and what you have dealt with, and it makes a lot of sense, like why sometimes you would be hesitant to go out and do certain things. But thank you for informing me. And as always, let us make a connection after deep reflection. Thank you and good night.